Hey everyone, welcome to Be the Change. My name is Lily Mott, and today's episode is about how change comes when you embrace your uniqueness. This episode features Giuliano Sarubbi, who is a youth leader from Paraguay currently making change in Taiwan. It was great to talk with Giuliano and to learn more about his work, so let's get started with this episode featuring Giuliano Sarubbi.
I'm Giuliano Sarubbi. I'm 21 years old, and I'm a youth leader from Paraguay. And I'm living in Asia now. I'm living in Taipei, in the Republic of China in Taiwan specifically. I never thought I was gonna come here. It was about destiny. I'm a strong believer about destiny. And today I'm in Asia, but I'm youth leader and my journey started in Latin America. My English is not perfect, so I will try my best. If I speak Spanish, I like reggaeton, I like Bad Bunny. I have that party vibes as Latino. I'm 21 years old and my journey started in a small city in a city named Caazapam with indigenous people. In Paraguay, we have around 2.3 populations of indigenous people. And I don't know why, but my life is connected with indigenous people. And then I didn't know that also in Taiwan, the place I'm living now, with 21 years old, because my journey started at 14. But now that I am 21, I also working with indigenous people here in Taiwan because in Taiwan there are a percentage of 2.5 population of indigenous people. And for anyone, it's a secret that the indigenous people are mostly the most vulnerable communities in the world. So I'm working with indigenous people, specifically in decent job and economic growth, but I also working with mental health. And this is something that we're gonna maybe talk in the process of this podcast, but it has to do with my own experience because I thought that I was gonna dedicate my whole life just working for indigenous people and extreme poverty and those kind of causes. But then I moved in Asia with just 18 years old and I started going through super bad situations, struggling with my mental health, going for anxiety and panic attacks and those kind of the depression. And also in that moment started my story of mental health. Yeah, I'm okay now with mental health and I wrote books about literature, but also about mental health. So yeah, I'm just that. I'm a youth leader. It's a little bit hard to talk about ourselves. But if I also have to say that I am a little part of the people that I love. That's another part of my introduction. I am maybe the passion of my mother, a single mother that is also the representation of the Latino mother. That sometimes I have to raise so many kids with her own. So I'm like super passionate, and but also I am the wish of like I don't know to in Spanish we say to eat the world of my brothers and sisters. So yeah, I am just a little bit about that.
That is incredible. That was a wonderful way to get started. And I think it was wonderful that you shared some of your personal life and some of your interests, because that is just as much a part of all of us. And I love that you put that in there. And it just sounds like you have an incredible network of support around you. And I love to hear about your family. I think that's wonderful. So let's get started. When you said you got started with this work when you were 14, what inspired you to start working with Indigenous people and start doing this work to make change? Tell me about that beginning for you.
Yeah. It's a specific time because I made a volunteer work for so many years. Because I was always connected. It's something that I always say. When God created me, He put so much love on me, and I just have this limit life to give back to Him, to give back to the people around me. So I was always connected with causes and communities. But when I remember one night when I was kind of maybe 13, 14, I remember exactly that it's also in my book, but I'm not promoting my book, but it's in Amazon if people want to go to buy. And it's like one night we were preparing hamburgers to sail the next day for maybe uh, get money for some charity or something, an indigenous community. In that moment, we were working so hard, and then we didn't realize it was 10 or 11 at night. So we just lay down in that place and sleep. The people there sleep every day. It's just in a block of cement. And then I wonder, and I wonder like why people like me have to live like that if I had so much. And then it was like, but I don't understand because indigenous people in most of the country they speak a different language. They are from different cultures. I mean, doesn't mean that because they live in your country, they have your same traditions and those stuff. So I was like, why? I am getting worried of someone or connecting with the problem of someone that doesn't have my language at all, doesn't have my culture, doesn't have my traditions. He or she, they are not my brothers or sisters. They're not from my family. So it was like, why I'm feeling like this? And then, because if I'm gonna be honest, I couldn't sleep because it was like mosquitoes everywhere and strong smelling of pee and those stuff, right? But just to be descriptive, right? To describe a little bit. And in that moment, I realized there is one new term in my life, global citizenship. That I was feeling like this because maybe, yes, I am not from the same neighborhood. I'm not from the same, they are not my relative. We are not so much connected in that part, but we are connected because we are a human race. And that is what is connecting us. So then I realized I wanted to do something because why? Um, the place they were born had to limit them for what they're going to have in the future and what and how or why they cannot get their dreams because of the place they were born. So I just started working. I was 14, 13, 12 something. And then like I started to work so hard for this kind of projects, but I started also struggling with the stigma, always too young to lead. And this is because my first book is Never Too Young. That's the name. Because I want to inspire other people with my story of life to to never like limit themselves because of their age. And because when it's never too young to lead, and when it's never too old to learn either. And in the first and the beginning, I felt like anyone would like listen to me because I was just 14 years old. But it was hard, but I could. And if I could, so much people can do it too. So I started a project, a social project named Niemotenonde, that is in their indigenous language, that it means progress in Spanish and in English, of course. And yeah, we started with a trade center. We give them, we're teaching them gastronomy, electricity, and bakery and hairdressing so they can have an entrepreneurship and they can be entrepreneurs. And maybe we cannot give them money, but with some volunteers, professional volunteers, every Sunday working so hard, we give them a tool so they can get a job. And after 1 year, around like we started with 35 people. In after 1 year, we were kind of 70 people and around 15 people they had a job already because we gave them a certification, and after that we really improved their life. I mean, I say we really improved their life, they improved their life with for themselves. We were just maybe a tool, and then we were the first center for indigenous people in Paraguay, and I was 14 years, and that is something that changed my life forever and changed maybe the mindset of so many people about young people, because we are not the just technological advances. We are voices and we are leaders and we are together working for the world that we deserve. And yeah, that's kind of the story, but there are so many beautiful stories to share. because I will tell you one. I mean, I don't want to forget. That is like I was so afraid because when you talk about indigenous people, you have to talk about specific rules that they have. And sometimes they are not very connected with us, white people. White, I just say it like this. And they say that we are Paraguayans, we are white people, and they are from a different, completely different part of the world. They feel like this. So they are sometimes not very open to work with us. So how we're gonna work and try to change their reality if they don't want they are not available or willing to work with us. So in the first weeks, they were like, we don't want to work with you. We don't have the same language. You are too young and those kind of stuff. But I was like super stubborn. I have a stubborn heart. And I was like trying to insist and going and going and going again. And just to summarize this now, I mean, not now, maybe 4 years ago, the son of the daughter of the kind of principal in the community, she had a baby and she put his name after me. Yes. And that means like we made something, right? And we really understand about global citizenship. And I think they understood better than me because no matter I don't speak that language and maybe it looks white. What matters is like how we are connected as human race.
I love that. I think that that is such a wonderful story. And I'm so glad that you included that little tidbit in there because it just speaks so much to the value of connection and community. And yeah, the work that you're doing is just incredible. Can you tell me about how you found your way to living in Asia now and continuing this work that you're doing? How has your work changed from when you were based in Paraguay to where you are now? Tell me about that whole part of your journey.
Yeah, it was really hard because when you leave your country, you are with, if you are 18, you just finished high school, you are with the wish to eat the world, as we say in Spanish. You want to conquer the world, you really want to conquer the world. I didn't know that here in Taiwan, there are a lot of indigenous people. Sometimes, and this is a tip, advice for young people, young leaders. Sometimes we say like, oh, well, we have experience already about communities and working with social projects. We are leaders and those stuff in our communities. But we don't always have the experience, enough experience to work with another community because every single community is different and we cannot assume their necessities if we don't go to ask to them. We cannot say, okay, they're indigenous and they need the same. They need that. They need to be entrepreneurs. They need to work of creating their own entrepreneurships to improve their life quality because they are indigenous. And I have experience working with indigenous people in my country. It's not like this. So that's what's my first mistake coming here. So they didn't have the same necessities of other indigenous communities. But now I'm working about special social projects about, for example, teaching English. Because Taiwan is a country that for 2030, they want to be a bilingual country. But to go to a cram school is super expensive. But also to not go into a cram school, it means like you will not have opportunities maybe in some fields. So small things like this. For example, teaching free, like going with other, maybe associate with other organizations that they are established already. And with my own like experiences, like working with some projects about that, and also working now with mental health projects that have to do not just with Taiwan. In Taiwan, we're working with that part, like more education and more like, for example, also like some little jobs that they can have too, because it's also a reality here, but it's a different context, but it will be so long if I'm gonna talk about that. But it's just that it means like specific in Taiwan about indigenous in that academic part. But about mental health, we are also working in Japan with some, mental health is a really big issue in Asia because they're really competitive and they want to be the best. And because loneliness here is something that you face every day. It's something that they normalize. And also I love Asian culture, but they are a little bit different about how they express themselves. Even if you are parent, I mean, if you're a mother or father, you don't say to your son or to your daughter, I love you. You don't say to them, like, you don't hug them. You don't see them crying and those stuff. So it means like there are a lot of problems about mental health, and it's the same problems that we also have in Latin America, in the US. I'm not going to say just here in Asia, but they have the problems in mental health. So, and also my work is focused on mental health. And I use my story of life lately because I don't know why, but it's something that chose me. And I'm going that part now, I think. For example, when I moved here, it was the COVID-19 period. I moved here and I already had, I don't know, I already launched my book in my country. I was so excited to come here. I was like, I'm gonna translate my book in Chinese and I will be successful in Asia, something like this. And yeah, Asian people really received me with open arms, and I have so much opportunity here, but it was not easy. So the first week I was in a hotel and I couldn't get out because of the COVID-19. And I couldn't see the lights and I couldn't see windows and I couldn't see anything. And it was so hard for me for that first week. And I'm a man. And sometimes we don't express to ourselves. We don't express and we don't say I need help. And sometimes even me that I'm just 21, I was like, why I'm gonna have therapy with someone that gonna listen to me just my problems? Maybe I'm gonna go to the church or something. I'm gonna go to talk with God or something, right? But it's not the same. So it was like that was the first week, and then I'm a scholarship student, and that is something I have to say. That it means that you need to have 80% of your GPA and your score, right? And I had to study Chinese for 1 year. And Chinese is something super hard. Chinese is a language. It means that you have to change your own name. I don't have my same name here in it. I'm San Chun Han. That's my name here in Chinese. And my name, I was always like listen to people call to me Giuliano, right? But here is San Chun Han. Even it's different because we have three characters. And in our Western world, the first name, first is name and then last name, but here is first last name and then name. So it's like totally different, and I was not used to. So I started like struggling with my studies academically. I didn't understand. I didn't know how to. I even didn't know how to pronounce my name. And it was like if I don't pass one exam, for example, that it was the international proficiency exam, the TOEFL in the US for English, or IELTS, but it was focused on Chinese, I had to go back to my country. Imagine so much pressure and so much expectation also for the people in my country that know already my story and they see me as an inspiration. So guess what? I failed the exam. I failed the exam and I had to go back to my country. And I didn't know, but it was too hard for me because it means like every single thing that I worked for was falling apart. I remember that it was not because maybe I didn't want to study, because I was not good emotionally to study. And I when I opened my book, I just closed it. And I postponed this Chinese exam because when you have anxiety, you postpone your goals. It's like something that you say you will do it, you can do it today, but you say I will do it later. But then you don't have enough time to do it. So I failed. And when I failed, I was super shocked and super sad. And I started with symptoms of depressions and panic attacks. And then the life gave me a second chance to take this exam. And but this time I didn't wait to don't be afraid. I made it being afraid because you have to do it. You have to be afraid, but do it. And I made it and I had a B1 It was like a intermediate high level. And yeah, I got a good level in my Chinese, and I could continue with my scholarship. But then it was like, oh my God, this experience, it was too hard for me. And I used to write when I don't feel good. So I had my journal, and it was like, life, universe, God, I had a very bad time in this year. And this story have to be helpful for someone, because you have to worse it. That's 1 year have to worse it. And yeah, that's was the beginning of the way I started to use this life story to inspire other people. Because if you don't get into mental health issues, you don't understand how someone is struggling with mental health. So I started therapy, and it's a long story, but I also, what I learned in therapy, I started writing a book, and then I launched another book in Spanish, and I launched in my country, and I use also social media to promote this stuff. And in the process of these kind of things in my leadership journey, I also work with international organizations and international platforms where I share my story and my life. And then I didn't know why, how destiny is incredible. I didn't know that there is a specific organization in Japan that is working with mental health in Asia for Japanese specifically. And that was, for example, my first job here. It was creating a social project for them. And so there are so many callings, telephone callings every day for people that want to do something bad with their life. And what we do is to translate, because we work with immigrants in Japan. So we have volunteers, and we translate their callings in Japanese, or from Japanese to English and those stuff, so they can get help. So yeah, that's my work here.
That is so incredible. And thank you so much for sharing that story. I am so grateful that you feel comfortable to share that and that you are so willing to share it, because I'm sure those are feelings that so many other people are feeling, as far as the pressure and especially during COVID, those feelings of isolation. And yeah, I think it's wonderful that you are sharing that. And I'm sure that so many people are inspired by hearing this story. So thank you so much for that. I am going to ask you to share some advice now for those people who are listening to us who might be interested in getting started with social action work and doing some of this work that you are doing, but they might not know how to get started with that work. What advice would you want to share with those people who might be listening?
First of all, you can do it. Like, no matter what people say, you can do it. Matter what causes you have close to your heart, and matter how much you want to use your life as a testimony, and use your life as a torch for light for communities. Matters how much you want your life worth it, and no matter what people say. So don't hear what they say, because they will say, no, you are too young. That's always my focus. You are too young, you cannot do it. You can do it. And it will be hard in the beginning, but you will always find right people that will be around you, because there are so many people that want to do the things that you are gonna do, and you're gonna be the first person, and they will follow you, and then you will be a whole community wanting to help other people. So that's the first. And the second one is like, your leadership will be unique. So don't try to be like others, or like copy others. Just embrace your uniqueness and embrace who you are, because you never know how much you can inspire being yourself, and you have to celebrate that. And the third thing is, the universe always listen to a stubborn heart, and the magic happen when you never give up. So never give up. Ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they follow their hearts, and when they don't give up, and they are there to pursue their dreams.
I really enjoyed talking with Giuliano, and I think it was really interesting to learn about how he's used so many of his own experiences to inform and motivate his work. I want to highlight that last piece of advice that he shared about embracing your uniqueness, because I think that is such a wonderful thing to keep in mind, and Giuliano is doing it so well in his own life. All of us have had different experiences, and those experiences are what make you you. Harness those lived experiences that make you unique into your leadership and your work, because that is the recipe for authentic, meaningful, and sustainable change. I encourage you to keep Giuliano's story and his advice in mind. Change comes when you embrace your uniqueness. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and you can find Giuliano on Instagram, and I included those links in the description of this episode. If you want to talk about anything I mentioned, please reach out to me by email at lily@bethechangepodcast.org or on Instagram at Be The Change Media Network. I'm working on expanding Be The Change Media Network, which means bringing you more inspiring stories from amazing guests. If you enjoyed this episode, I would really appreciate it if you could leave the podcast a rating and a comment, because it will help these stories to reach, educate, and inspire more people. And I would also love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Tune in for my next episode, but until then, be the change you wish to see in the world. Bye, guys.